The situation in the Strait of Hormuz just changed. For years, the United States has watched Iranian fast attack craft swarm around commercial shipping. These small, quick boats are a constant threat. They can harass tankers, lay mines, or even attempt seizures. The U.S. Navy has always been there to respond, but now the response has a new face. A very loud, very old, and very deadly face. The A-10 Thunderbolt, the Warthog, is now hunting over the water. This was a big shift. Everyone expected fast jets or drones, but the U.S. military made a different choice. They sent the plane built for a tank war in Europe 40 years ago. Here is how it happened, step by step. First, the detection. U.S. intelligence and naval patrols are always watching the strait. Satellites, drones, and ships monitor Iranian naval bases. They watch for patterns. The key is knowing when those fast attack craft leave their piers. These boats are operated by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy. They are not the regular Navy. They are more aggressive. Their boats are small, often armed with machine guns and rockets. They are hard to track on radar because they are low to the water. But the U.S. has ways. They see them gathering. They detect the swarming tactics. The threat is identified. Commercial ships are in the area. The order is given. The A-10's are called in. Now, the targeting. This is where the A-10 is different. It is not a fast jet that screams in at the speed of sound. It is slow. It can loiter. This means it can fly in circles over an area for hours. The pilots can watch the situation develop with their own eyes. They use powerful sensors and targeting pods. They can identify exactly which boats are acting aggressively. They can see which ones are approaching commercial ships. The pilots work with commanders on U.S. Navy ships. Together, they decide which boats are legitimate targets. The rules of engagement are strict. The boats must show hostile intent. The targeting is precise. The A-10 gets ready to engage. Next, the attack. This is the moment the GAU-8 Avenger cannon speaks. This is the A-10's famous weapon. It is a huge 30mm gun mounted in the nose of the plane. It fires massive depleted uranium shells. The rate of fire is incredible. It sounds like a long, loud, ripping sound. The gun is so powerful it can slow the plane down when it fires. Against a small fiberglass or aluminum boat, the effect is devastating. The shells tear through the hull and the engine. They destroy the boat in seconds. The A-10 can also use other weapons. It carries AGM-65 Maverick missiles. These are precision-guided missiles. The pilot can lock one onto a boat from miles away. It then flies to the target on its own. The A-10 also carries laser-guided rockets. These are smaller, but very accurate. The pilot paints the target with a laser, and the rocket follows that laser spot. For these small, fast boats, the 30mm cannon is often the weapon of choice. It is direct, it is terrifying, and it leaves no doubt. Then the immediate consequences. The attacked boat is usually destroyed or disabled. It sinks or is left dead in the water. The other boats in the swarm see this. They hear the sound of the cannon. They see the fireball. The psychological impact is huge. These Iranian crews are used to facing ships. They use their speed to dart around larger vessels. But they cannot outrun an airplane. They cannot hide from it. The A-10 flies above them, watching. After an engagement, the swarming behavior often stops. The remaining boats scatter and return to port. The immediate threat to shipping is neutralized, but the larger consequence is strategic. The United States is sending a clear message. They are using a plane specifically designed to destroy armored vehicles on land to now destroy boats on water. They are showing that every part of the Iranian threat will be met with overwhelming force. The A-10's presence alone is a deterrent. Commercial ship captains feel safer knowing the Warthog is overhead. So why use the A-10? People ask this question. The Air Force has wanted to retire this plane for years. It is old. It is slow. Why not use an F-35 or a Reaper drone? The answer is in the mission. The Strait of Hormuz is a crowded place. There are commercial ships everywhere. You need a pilot who can see the situation clearly. You need a plane that can stay for a long time. The A-10's loiter time is a key advantage. It can patrol for over an hour and a half without refueling. With aerial refueling, it can stay for many hours. A fast jet like an F-16 would have to zoom in, make a pass, and then leave because it burns fuel so quickly. The A-10 can linger. It can watch. It can ensure it is hitting the right target. Also, The cost. Using a 30mm cannon is relatively cheap compared to firing a $1 million missile at a small boat. The A-10 is the right tool for this specific job. Let's talk about the plane itself. People call it ugly. They call it the Warthog. It was built around its gun. The entire plane exists to deliver that weapon. The pilot sits in a titanium tub. This armor protects them from ground fire. It is like a bathtub made of the strongest metal. The plane has redundant systems. If one hydraulic line is shot, another takes over. If one engine is damaged, it can fly on the other. This plane was built to survive over a battlefield. Now, it is flying over the water. The engines are high on the tail. This helps if the plane takes a hit from below. It also allows it to take off from short, rough runways. But in this mission, it is operating from bases in friendly Gulf nations. It is a simple, tough, reliable aircraft. And in the Strait of Hormuz, reliable is what you need. What does Iran think about this? This is a major escalation from their perspective. For a long time, their fast attack craft were their advantage. They are cheap. They can build many of them. They believed they could swarm U.S. Navy ships and overwhelm them. The arrival of the A-10 changes that calculation. Their boats are now targets for a plane they cannot easily shoot down. The A-10 flies low, but it is still an airplane. Iran has air defense systems, but they are mostly around their key sites. They cannot put advanced air defenses on every small boat. Their boats have machine guns and maybe short-range missiles. Hitting a moving A-10 with a boat-mounted machine gun is very hard. The A-10 can attack from outside the range of these weapons, so Iran has a problem. Their main tool for harassing shipping is now vulnerable. They will have to change their tactics. What could Iran do next? This is the critical question. One option is they could try to shoot down an A-10. They might move mobile surface-to-air missile launchers closer to the coast. They could try to lure the A-10s within range. This would be a huge risk. Shooting down a U.S. Air Force plane is an act of war. It would trigger a massive U.S. response. Another option is for Iran to use different weapons. They could use submarines, or they could use land-based anti-ship missiles. These missiles are a bigger threat. They can be fired from the shore and hit ships many miles away. The U.S. is ready for this. They have destroyers with the Aegis defense system. This system can track and shoot down incoming missiles. So if Iran escalates, the U.S. can escalate too. Iran might also use more drones. They have many drones. But the U.S. ships and planes also have good defenses against drones. The game has changed, and Iran is now the one who has to figure out a new move. The world is watching this closely. Why? Because of oil. 20% of the world's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz. If this channel closes, oil prices would skyrocket. The global economy would feel the shock immediately. So keeping the strait open is not just a U.S. interest, it is a global interest. The U.S. mission, called Operation Epic Fury, is about freedom of navigation. It is about making sure ships can pass through without being threatened. The A-10 is now a key part of that mission. Its success means the oil keeps flowing. Every time an A-10 destroys a hostile boat, it sends a signal to global markets. The strait will remain open. Now, what about the future of the A-10? This mission might save the plane. The Air Force has tried to retire it for years. They say it is too old to survive in a war against a country like China or Russia. They want to spend the money on new fighters and drones, but Congress has always stopped them. Lawmakers love the A-10, and now, with the plane proving its worth in a real ongoing conflict, it is harder to argue for its retirement. It is showing a new mission. It is not just for close air support for soldiers on the ground anymore. It is a maritime patrol and attack aircraft. It is doing a job that no other plane can do as well. This success in the Strait of Hormuz gives the A-10 a new lease on life. The pilots and maintainers who love this plane are being vindicated. The Warthog is back in action. Let's break down a typical engagement one more time. It starts early in the morning. A U.S. Navy destroyer is patrolling the strait. Its radar picks up multiple small contacts leaving an Iranian port. The ship's captain alerts the Air Operations Center. A pair of A-10s is already in the air. They are on a routine patrol. They are directed to the area. The A-10s fly towards the Navy ship. They check in with the ship's controllers. The pilots look at their sensor screens. They see the swarm of boats. There are 10 of them. They are speeding towards a large commercial tanker. The tanker is flying the flag of Liberia. It is full of crude oil. The Iranian boats split into two groups. They attempt to surround the tanker. This is a classic harassment tactic. The U.S. destroyer issues radio warnings. The boats ignore them. The situation is escalating. The A-10 pilots get clearance to engage. They select their weapons. The lead pilot decides to use the cannon. He lines up for a strafing run. He comes in low and slow. He puts the pipper, the aiming dot, on the lead boat. He squeezes the trigger. The gun fires for a 2-second burst. Hundreds of 30mm shells pour out. They rip into the boat. It explodes and quickly sinks. The other boats stop. They turn around, they start to flee. The second A-10 pilot tracks another boat that is still acting aggressively. He fires a Maverick missile. The missile streaks off the wing. It flies over the water. It hits the boat's engine compartment. That boat is also destroyed. The remaining 8 boats are now racing back to Iranian waters. The A-10s do not follow them into Iranian territory. They stay over international waters. They watch the boats leave. The tanker is safe. It continues its journey. The A-10s resume their patrol. Another potential crisis is over in minutes. This is the new normal in the Strait of Hormuz. The A-10 Warthog, the plane everyone said was too old, is now the guardian of the shipping lanes. It is a perfect example of using the right tool for the job. It is not the fanciest tool. It is not the newest tool. But it is the tough, reliable, and brutally effective tool. The sound of its gun is now the sound of deterrence in one of the world's most important waterways. The sequence is clear. Detect the threat, target the aggressor, attack with overwhelming force, neutralize the immediate danger, and deter the next provocation. The A-10 is executing this sequence every day, and as long as Iran continues to test the waters, the Warthog will be there, waiting, watching, and ready to fire. The story of this old plane is still being written, and its latest chapter is happening right now over the blue waters of the Strait of Hormuz. The lessons from this are simple. Adaptability wins. Old systems can find new life. And sometimes the biggest mistake an adversary can make is underestimating a weapon they thought was obsolete. The U.S. just showed that the A-10 is anything but obsolete. It is once again proving its worth in combat. And that changes the strategic picture for everyone involved. The message is delivered. The strait will stay open. The hunt continues.